Well, hello, ladies and gentlemen. Today, I am going to be doing a video translation of
Ladies and gentlemen, today I am going to be doing a video translation.
Oh, I need to quiet this one down. Oh, oh my word, where's it all coming from? Oh my goodness.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness.
Wow. Wow. Well, we know it's working. So how do I quiet this down? Okay. So we don't want that one to be repeating everything I say. Okay, let's start this again. Okay, so what happened here is that I have I watched this video from El Charro Político, and Juncal Solano. She is awesome. Just love her. And she's really good at digging up information. And anyway, so I thought I'm going to translate this video for her because it shares some very important information. So this is El Charro Político and what's happening in Bolivia right now at the Mexican Consulate. Okay, so here we go.
Y pues bien, mis queridos charritos, arrancamos con la información de el día de hoy. Y es que la usurpadora de Bolivia...
So she says, hello, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to start with the news today, and it's just that the usurper of Bolivia
recibe órdenes de Washington.
Has received orders from Washington
para comenzar una cacería en contra de los...
so that she can start a attack when you're picking off, like when you're shooting and picking off someone, you know, from a distance.
Los mexicanos que se encuentran en Bolivia y no...
So against the Mexicans that are now in Bolivia.
No solamente eso, sino
but not only that.
También quedarse con el consulado mexicano.
They also want to retain the Mexican consulate.
Cual es sumamente peligroso porque...
which is actually very dangerous.
Que los consulados, si bien es cierto, no están en territorio nacional.
Because these consulates are not actually on national territory.
Es una extensión territorial. ¿Qué quiere decir eso?
It's an extension of our territory. What does this mean?
Que el consulado mexicano, ya sea en cualquier parte del mundo,
it's that the Mexican consulate, no matter where in the world it's found,
es territorio mexicano y
is Mexican territory.
No se puede meter el gobierno de Bolivia.
El
problema es que aseguran que hay exfuncionarios.
Oh my word.
El problema es que aseguran que...
But they cannot become involved in Bolivia. And so what they assure us is that there are people from the previous government
que están siendo protegidos,
that are being protected,
asilados políticos,
and are under political asylum.
Y exigen que el gobierno les permita entrar.
And they are demanding that the Mexican government, allow them to enter
al consulado,
into the consulate.
Todo parece indicar que ya se está tomando este hecho personal de Estados Unidos.
And so now it looks like the U.S. government is taking a personal interest
Unidos contra México.
Against Mexico.
Y evidentemente están utilizando a
And obviously or evidently they are utilizing Bolivia in order to do so.
Bolivia, y dice así.
And it says like this. So she's reading here. It says Bolivia gives an order of apprehension against ex-officials that have asylum in the Mexican embassy.
Bolivia gira orden de aprehensión contra exfuncionarios asilados en embajada mexicana. Vamos a leer lo siguiente.
Oh, notice how I'm sitting right next to her, thanks to my green screen.
Y dice así, lo estamos viendo aquí en pantalla, y dice lo siguiente.
So she's going to read what's in orange. So I'm going to go ahead and just read it. It says the Ministry of External Relations of the internal government of Bolivia, Karen Langari, gave or let someone know, or let it be known today, the names of 5 ex-officials, Bolivian ex-officials, that have asylum in the Embassy of Mexico in La Paz. And they have ordered to capture them. The Consulate of Bolivia used his 2 examining governors. Oh, the one, it was a Consulate of Bolivia, the ex-governors, 2 ex-governors, 2 examiners, ex-director of the agency of governmental agency, and an ex-functionary of an electoral organism. So they're trying to get rid of all the evidence of what they did before the United Nations can get in, because there was a lot of illegalities that they did. In other words, there was evidence and there was videos of how they tortured. There's a video I did where they were pouring red paint. The new government was pouring red paint on one of the officials, and they were forcing her to say, "I renounce, I renounce." And they did something similar to all the other officials, so that they were all not allowed to, safely allowed to return to where they were going to be voting the next person. So they took everybody out that was in line after Evo Morales, so that nobody would be there except for the lady that they wanted to go in, who had usurped and maybe did this whole coup thing. So they're trying to get at these people so they can kill them, so they can destroy the evidence of their crime. And we need to stop that. The United Nations needs to get in there and protect these people, because they are going to try and get in there and kill them and get rid of the evidence of anyone who can attest to what they did. But in this video that I saw and translated or made a copy of, I don't remember if I did it in English or Spanish, but one of the officials, delegates, or one of the people that was like next in line in the government, they made her walk barefoot through the whole city streets, and then they poured paint on her, stood her up somewhere, cut her hair, and then said, "You have to renounce, you have to renounce, you have to renounce," and they made her renounce. And so also we were told that the other officials, their family was held, kidnapped, and they were called, and the wife or the relatives were put on the phone and said, "Yes, they have us here, they've captured us," and they made them renounce their positions in order to be able to control the government. So that was part of the coup. And now the ones that survived, that got to the Mexican consulate, they're trying to go after them. And we cannot allow this.
La ministra de Relaciones Exteriores del Gobierno Interno de Bolivia, Karen Longori, dio a conocer hoy los nombres de 5 exfuncionarios.
Okay, so this is the part where she says the same thing I just said about the... Okay, so here she's saying ex-government agency. Okay, wait.
Funcionarios del gobierno electoral, quienes son reclamados por las autoridades bolivianas. En declaraciones a radio, la ministra precisó que los 5 bolivianos son exministros, presidentes.
So she is, over the radio, they said that they are ex-ministers, Bolivia, and examiners, and these guys that they're trying to get at.
Ex-ministros de Cultura y gobernadores.
So an ex-minister of culture, okay. So why should they be going after these people? It's because they were there and evidenced what happened. They witnessed what happened. And the cultural person that was assigned to that, they're the ones that were making sure that the indigenous people were getting a fair share, that their original cultures were being maintained because they had very diverse, beautiful cultures there in Bolivia. And if you watch some of the videos of the demonstrations, you see the people with their beautiful colors. And they have this flag called the huipala, which is originated, they said, in the thousands of years, which was the original flag of all the indigenous people and the original people from Bolivia. And when Miss Añez originally went into office, I believe they said she burned or got rid of the huipala and went in with a Bible, which angered the people that are Christian because she's using the Bible in a bad way. And Christianity is not about killing people, it's about brotherhood and loving thy neighbor. And she went in with a Bible, and on the other side of town, she had her people shooting at the people that were saying, you know, we want our president back, we want Evo Morales. So the people, the Christian people, were not happy with her use of the Bible as she entered. Oh, now Christianity goes back into the palace. When, you know, in other words, saying that because there was an indigenous man, that he was not Christian or worthy of being the president. And many of his cabinet were also indigenous. So this was just a very ugly way of showing racism. And what's really funny is this lady, Jeanine Añez, is actually indigenous, and you can see it in her facial features. Perhaps, like all of us, you know, we have a mixture of Spaniard and European, you know, and French, you know, because these invaders came into all our countries, including Mexico and Central America, and they came in and invaded and mated with the indigenous people, and so now we've got this mix. But she's got very many strong features of the indigenous Bolivian culture, and it seems like she tries to deny it, and she's very hateful towards her own people. And there was another video that was done by what's his name? El Jota. And he was talking to her because he's Peruvian, and you could see his very authentic, he's from Peru, and you could see the authentic Peruvian features in him. And he's proud to be Peruvian and have these indigent features. And so he was telling her, you know, hey, you know, don't try to hide who you are. Be proud of being indigenous. That's your blood. But anyway, so that's another story. But anyway, so this is where they were, she's talking about how they are planning.
El exdirector de la Agencia del Gobierno Electrónico. La ministra afirmó además que
Now, the other thing that happened regarding the elections, just so you know, they have a vote that they do, like a kind of a, they count how many people are there, and they do kind of like an electronic vote, kind of like a to kind of keep you an idea of what's actually expected to happen at the polls, right? And so, but then they have to actually count the actual ballots. So that expected amount, the original electronic vote, which the computer went down, and we believe that it is believed, and it was heard on a audio tape, that the ones that took over had actually paid people to go in and you know, do some kind of electronic thing where they turned off the cyber, you know, attack on the computer, so that it looked like there was a reason to recount or to say that there was something illegal about the vote. So after they had done that, the actual votes mirrored what the computer had said. So when they tried to say that he lied or cheated, the actual countable ballots that were physical actually, and they never even mentioned that at the UN and all that, that there actually was the actual paper count showed that Evo Morales had won with the correct margin, and he was actually the winner of that election, and they knew he was going to win, and that's why they did this whole thing. But anyway, so let's go on.
El martes entregó en la Embajada de México en Bolivia las 5 órdenes de captura contra.
So they took the 5 orders of orders against these people to the embassy.
Los exfuncionarios que
for the ex-functioning officials.
fueron emitidos por la Fiscalía por la presunta comisión de delitos.
So they're saying presumptive crimes. What their only crime was belonging to the wrong regime.
Agregó que el exministro de la presidencia está acusado de presunto, bueno, ya sabemos.
So they're saying that it was a presumptive terrorism, sedition, and other crimes. In other words, sedition from them, which he was with the original government. So he didn't do anything wrong. They did, and they're trying to get the people that were the actual government and throw them out of government.
Esta palabra que traen de moda tanto Estados Unidos.
So and just so you know, the YouTubers that are trying to put out this information are having so much difficulty because on YouTube, they don't let you use any of the words that actually explain what's happening. For example, the word terrorism, she doesn't use it, and she can point at it, but she can actually say it. And I don't know why. I don't understand why you can't say what's actually happening. Why are they censoring us? We need to fight against this censorship that is now being done by YouTube and other media that are not allowing the people in the world to know what's actually happening. That's another topic, and we really need to get on that.
Como Bolivia, que empieza con T-E-R-R-O-R-I.
So see, she's spelling it out because they are not allowed to say it. And that is also very interesting, that a company like YouTube that is owned by American governments doesn't want us to know what's really happening over there. The word terrorism, that's a bad word? What?
Y también por daños al gobierno. Esta ministra, esta señora que estamos
So this lady, this minister,
viendo aquí, hace unos días se le fue en contra al presidente Andrés Manuel López Obrador.
So a few days ago she went up against, or she made an attack against Andrés Manuel López Obrador, the Mexican president.
¿Qué es lo que quieren? Bueno, pues tomar la embajada de México.
So what they want is they want to take the Mexican embassy.
Pero esto no se puede permitir porque.
But you cannot permit this.
Bueno, pues te presento lo siguiente.
And so she's presenting what the consulates on international territory or national territory.
Se llama territorialidad.
Extraterritorialism.
Y esto lo contempla nuestro derecho mexicano.
And that makes it our Mexican right.
¿Qué quiere decir esto?
And she says, what does this mean?
Principalmente el derecho internacional, es decir, todos los países.
That means an international right that is within all countries.
Resulta que se llama extraterritorialidad a la ficción jurídica admitida por el derecho internacional, por la cual un edificio o un terreno se.
So it's saying, well, you know what? I should probably look that up. Hold on. I'm going to look that up on my on mine here. And let's see. I'm going to open up a new place here. And we're going to go to Google, and we're going to look up the same word. Consulates are national territory. Consulates are national territory. Okay. So she has the word territory, jurisdiction. Okay, and where's the extraterritorial? There it is. Okay. There it is. And so here I have, so I'm going to translate what it says there. It says extraterritoriality is the state of being exempted from the jurisdiction of local law, usually as this will be treated to relinquish her. Wait, let me see. I think I need to open it up. Sorry, guys. Okay, because it was like cut off. Okay, jurisdiction. Okay, as the result of diplomatic negotiations. Historically, this is primarily applied to individuals, such as jurisdiction usually claimed by peoples rather than lands. Extraterritoriality also can be applied to physical places such as foreign embassies, military bases of foreign countries, or offices of the United Nations. The three most common cases recognized today internationality relate to the persons and belongings of foreign heads of states, the persons and belongings of ambassadors and other diplomats, and the ships and international waters. Okay, so anyway, that is basically what she's explaining there. I'm going to have to go a little faster because I have to get to work today.
Las embajadas que se encuentran en Estados Unidos, en Bolivia, en China, los consulados mexicanos no son territorio ni de Estados Unidos, ni de Bolivia, ni de Colombia.
So she's saying that when a consulate is within a territory, whether it be U.S., China, Bolivia, they don't belong to them.
Son propiedad de México.
They are property of Mexico or the original territory that they belong to.
De México, así como también los consulados americanos, a donde uno va a pedir la visa, por ejemplo.
So, for example, she says when we go here to the American consulate in Mexico to get our visa, for example.
Ejemplo, el gobierno mexicano no se puede meter así como así, ¿por qué?
And the Mexican government cannot just enter there because they want to.
Por la extraterritorialidad, ¿qué quiere decir eso? Que ese pedacito.
So what that means is that little territory, that little piece, does not belong to them. It belongs to. Okay, so I'm going to put it in my message chat area. Let's see if it'll let me. Control paste. Oh, V. All right, there it is. Well, part of it came out. Okay, so anyway, so there it is. And let's go ahead.
Ese edificio o ese terreno representa territorio de Estados Unidos. Es lo mismo aquí en lo que está sucediendo en Bolivia.
So she's saying that is territory of the United States, just like what's happening right now in Bolivia.
Quieren entrar a la embajada, pero no es permitido. ¿Por qué?
And they want to enter the embassy, but it is not permitted.
Porque ese terrenito es la representación del gobierno mexicano y no pueden hacer nada.
Because that is territory that belongs to the Mexican government and they cannot do anything.
Si llegan a hacerle algo, ahora sí agárrense porque
And if they do anything, then hold on to your pants.
eso se entiende como intervencionismo. Entrar
And that is considered interventionalism.
a un territorio de un país extranjero
And that is entering into the territory of another land.
sin permiso del mismo y ahí es
And if they enter into a foreign land without permission from them,
cuando comienzan pues muchos conflictos y
and that is when conflicts begin.
terminan pues en batallas.
And then they'll wind up in a battle.
Eso es lo que quieren hacer, parece indicar que ya se la traen también contra los mexicanos y mucho cuidado. Esta misma señora que
And this same lady, she says, be careful because they'll go up against the Mexicans. So let's see.
anda exigiéndole al gobierno que entregue a estas personas o si
And she's demanding from the Mexican government to turn over these people,
no van a entrar al consulado.
or else they will enter the consulate.
Es la misma señora que hace unos días se le fue al presidente Andrés Manuel López Obrador.
And so here you'll hear how this lady went up against and said some things against López Obrador. I haven't heard it myself, so we'll hear it together.
Y lo llamó cómplice del delincuente Evo Morales.
And so she called him an accomplice to the president, the actual president, Evo Morales.
Así ella lo mencionó y dice así.
De México, al tolerar estas expresiones, está violando los principios del asilo político.
And so by allowing him to speak, and they're talking about Evo Morales, that they are violating the laws of political asylum.
Está violando las normas de asilo político.
And she said they're violating the norms of political asylum.
E inclusive está vulnerando la doctrina Estrada.
And she said it's vulnerating the Estrada doctrine.
Que tan orgullosamente ha ostentado por casi un siglo.
And she said who has so proudly been in charge over 100 years
El Estado mexicano.
in the Mexican state.
La doctrina Estrada le permite al Estado mexicano, a los gobiernos de turno, cometer injerencia en los asuntos internos de otros estados.
So she says that one allows them to get involved in matters of other states or other countries.
Sin embargo, hoy estamos viendo que el gobierno de México está tolerando.
And she says now we see that the Mexican government is tolerating. Okay, now one thing you need to know is these people, if they get a hold of Evo Morales, they will certainly kill and torture him because they do not want him to be alive to take over his position again, because the people still want him. The majority of the people want Evo Morales to be their president. So they are trying to get rid of him and anybody who belonged to his cabinet and anybody who will be able to face them in a trial regarding what they did there in Bolivia when they had that hostile takeover and a coup against the actual Bolivian president, who actually was in turn and is still the president there, because they have not accepted his resignation or whatever it is that he did, in order to save the people. In other words, he stepped down because they were threatening his people and to kill people, and he said, I'll step down, just stop hurting the people. And they didn't stop hurting the people. They still killed a few after he left. So he is very angry, and he's gone to the United Nations, and he's been trying to get people to listen and help his people, because now he's out of there, and these people that did the hostile takeover are doing attacks against all the people of the actual government, and they need help. And unfortunately, it is apparent that the United States had a hand in it, and that embarrasses me, that we would have a hand in hurting the actual legitimate government.
Está consintiendo y está desconociendo al actual gobierno, un gobierno constitucionalmente.
So they're saying that he is not recognizing the actual government, a government constitutionally taken over, which is not true. They had a hostile takeover. They used the military. That is the definition of a coup, according to Bernie Sanders.
Conformado.
And speaking now of Bernie Sanders, I wanted to say that Evo Morales and Andrés Manuel López Obrador and Bernie Sanders are a group of men that have been long time fighters against attacks against humanity and against they are fighters of the environment, protection of the environment, protection of the indigenous people, protection of humanity. In fact, Evo Morales did so many changes for his government. He instilled education. In other words, free education with grants for his people. Now, pretty much, there's only like 2 or 5% illiteracy, where they used to have a very high number. And then in Mexico, and there was more. I mean, he got them good wages. He built hundreds of hospitals or thousands of schools. Um, he got rights. He got rights for the people, to the indigenous people, because they were always overlooked, and only the wealthy were getting water, electricity, um, or even the basic necessities of life. The indigenous people weren't getting. So he made sure that they were getting that. And so, of course, the people are going to want him. Same thing with Mexico. Um, the people love Andres Manuel Lopez Obrador, which is AMLO, which is why I named my channel AMLOVISION, because he went back to the Constitution and said, hey, it's a constitutional right to have an education. It is not something that you would have to pay for. And he said, wait a minute, you have a right to health. That should not be something that only the rich can afford. So the same thing was happening in Mexico, and it's happening in the US. I don't know if any of you guys noticed, but only the rich can afford the good education. Only the rich can afford the good medical care. And Bernie Sanders is fighting for us here. And, I would not be surprised if they turn on him too, because he's got years. I mean, I saw videos of him in the 70s or 80s being dragged off at a protest where he was protesting against something that had to do with human rights. And then also Andres Manuel did many, peaceful protests also, where they walked all the way across from one part of Mexico to the center of the capital, and took thousands of people went with him, in order to show that they were against the corruption that was happening in government. And so Evo Morales and Bernie Sanders and AMLO are cut from the same cloth. And if they go against one, they go against all. And I say the U.S. needs a Bernie Sanders. It needs somebody like that. So please pay attention to what's happening, because you may think you're going to get, they might promise you deals with the people that are in power, the rich people. But believe me, I did not see a decrease in my taxes. I did not see an increase in my wages. And the people, when they're talking about more jobs, they're talking about a few people working multiple jobs. It's not more people have jobs. What they have is the economy is so bad here that couples have to work 2 jobs each. Some people have to work 3 jobs in order to be able to maintain their heads above water. No rest. I'm sure that this is going to, as a nurse, I can tell you that this is going to affect their health, because people that work so much are not getting adequate rest. And that is detrimental. Plus the anxiety of this place. I'm sure that life expectancy in the U.S. is going to be affected. Okay, so let me get back to the matter at hand.
Entonces hay una molestia muy grande de parte de Bolivia.
So they're saying that Bolivia is very bothered by this.
Pero sabemos que no es el gobierno mexicano.
But she said, but we know it's not the Mexican government.
Sabemos que no es el pueblo mexicano.
Oh, we know it's not the Mexican people, excuse me.
Sino el gobierno mexicano.
Instead, it's the Mexican government.
O sea, la señora dice que no es el pueblo mexicano, sino el gobierno. Se le va directamente al presidente Andrés Manuel López Obrador. Pero justamente cuando a esta señora
so anyway, she's going directly against AMLO, not the people, but this is what she found also in the news.
Le preguntan, a ver, ¿y qué pasó con el tema de la Interpol? Como por qué permitieron entrar a la Interpol.
So they asked her, why did you allow Interpol in?
Para hacer acciones en contra de Evo Morales.
to do actions against Evo Morales.
Ahí sí, la canciller de Bolivia desconoce el orden de la Interpol.
And she said she does not know anything about Interpol.
Nunca supo que Estados Unidos tenía
And that she didn't know that the U.S. had
mandos en Bolivia y
that the U.S. had mandates in Bolivia.
nadie sabe cómo los dejó entrar.
And they don't know how it is that they got in there.
Ahí sí la señora pues se le olvida, ¿no? Se
And then all of a sudden she's very forgetful.
le olvida que la patria es primero, que el pueblo boliviano.
And so she forgot that the people are first, the Bolivian people.
Que la soberanía,
Sovereignty.
ahí sí se le olvida,
But she forgot all that.
pero cuando se trata de achacarle a López Obrador, hasta la matraca saca la señora.
But when it comes to attacking Obrador, she even takes out her, pan.
Aquí vemos la doble moral. Aquí lo
Here you can see the double morality.
importante es lo siguiente, que no se le ocurra a Bolivia entrar en
So Bolivia should not dare to go into the embassy
territorio mexicano
because it is Mexican territory
en los consulados.
at the consulates.
Faltará ver qué va a hacer el gobierno en relación a esos exfuncionarios
So what is the government going to do related to those ex-functioning officials
que se le está dando asilo
that are being given asylum to
político en lo que se resuelve su situación?
until their situation is resolved? So here they're trying to jump the gun and get rid of all the witnesses to what they did. And they're trying to get rid of the people that are supposed to go back into power that were removed from office illegitimately.
Al igual que también están presionando al presidente para que entregue a Evo Morales, pero
And so they're also trying to pressure Andrés Manuel López Obrador to turn over Evo Morales.
pues ahora dice, yo no me voy a meter. Él pidió el servicio de asilado político como se le
And he said, I'm not going to get involved. He asked for political asylum service. We gave it to him,
puede dar a cualquier persona.
and we could give it to anyone.
Y una vez que resuelva su situación, o si el señor se quiere ir, adelante
And then once their situation is resolved, if the man wants to leave at any time, he can.
tiene las puertas abiertas.
And the doors are open for him, whatever he chooses to do.
Esto es lo que está sucediendo. Y aquí vemos que evidentemente pues el nuevo gobierno, si se le puede decir, el de la
So the new usurping government, if you, or the new government, if you want to call it that,
usurpadora, no quiere en lo absoluto a México
and the new usurper president does not like Mexico, absolutely,
porque está recibiendo pues órdenes por parte de Washington.
because she's receiving orders from Washington.
Ahora, ¿qué es lo que pasa? El gobierno de Bolivia presenta una protesta formal contra México.
So the Bolivian government presented a formal protest against the government of Mexico for violating the principles of asylum.
Eso fue lo que hicieron hace una semana, siguen presionando.
And so that's what they did a week ago, and they continue to pressure. Now, this is Evo Morales. You can see the indigenous features. He looks like one of those people you would see in those old pictures, paintings of the Indian people. He's got the beautiful traditional features. I don't know. I think it's beautiful.
Y hoy te pregunto lo siguiente. Evo Morales anuncia que ya no quiere vivir en la base militar que le habían asignado.
And so Evo Morales has let it be known that he no longer wants to live at the military base which they had assigned to him.
Y que no quiere recibir absolutamente nada por parte del gobierno, más
And he wants to receive nothing from the government
que la seguridad, porque pues
except for security.
ahí si le pasa algo, luego van a venir a culparnos a nosotros y con
And of course, then if they did do anything to him, then they would blame us.
ese tema que tenemos con Estados Unidos, que la inseguridad, que no sé qué.
And then, it would come back on us because that whole thing that the U.S. is saying that Mexico has insecurity.
Que ya quieren quitar a López Obrador por eso, que sabemos
And now they're trying to take Andrés Manuel López Obrador because of that, take him out of office because of that.
que es una simple acción para hacer campaña por parte de Donald Trump.
And we know it's just a simple campaign plot on the behalf of Donald Trump.
Resulta que Evo Morales anuncia lo siguiente y te invito
And so what happened is Evo Morales announced the following.
a que me digas qué opinas al respecto en el
And tell me what you think about this.
sentido de que Evo Morales pide ayuda a mexicanos para su manutención. Es decir, ya no quiero vivir en la base militar, quiero pues empezar a chambear por mi parte, buscar
So he wants to look for a job to work on his own behalf.
dinero por mi parte y pido apoyo al gobierno. ¿Qué opinas de esto?
And he's asking for support from the government to allow him to have some kind of job so he can support himself, because he does not want to be supported by the government.
Que los medios de comunicación le dieron una intención diferente. Vamos a escuchar el video de Evo Morales.
And so she says that the communication media turned this around and gave it a different significance than what he was trying to say.
Días de haber permanecido hospedado en el campo militar número 1, el expresidente de Bolivia, Evo Morales, se mudó a otro lugar donde su manutención correrá por su cuenta. Este miércoles,
So apparently on Wednesday he moved to a new place where he can support himself, and he's no longer on the military base.
en conferencia de prensa en el Club de Periodistas, el boliviano llamó a los mexicanos y a embajadores hermanos a que le apoyen para su
And so he asked for his Mexican brothers and the media to help him.
manutención en México. Sin embargo, su seguridad seguirá a cargo del Estado mexicano.
But even so, the Mexican government will still be in charge of his safety. So there it says, this evening we'll be transferring over to a new place with cooperation, of course. But now that we are going out of here, so he said we have to start to finance our own stay here. And we appreciate the great solidarity of the Mexican people and its government. And it has been two weeks exactly since we tried to get some spaces to live in. But it's been difficult to find a place to live. But we always want to cooperate. So brothers and sisters of Mexico, if these two ambassadors,
Morales, quien llegó a México el pasado 12 de noviembre en calidad de asilado político, se negó a revelar.
So she was saying that he arrived in Mexico as a political asylum refugee.
El lugar donde se hospeda ahora, acompañado de Gabriela Montaño, su exministra de Salud, y el ex vicepresidente Álvaro García.
So he has the health minister and another person with him that was from his cabinet that he also brought out.
Bueno, esto es, los medios de comunicación aseguran que
So that is what the communication media is saying.
Evo Morales le está pidiendo manutención al gobierno mexicano y él dice, nunca escuché que dijera que al gobierno mexicano, simplemente una cooperación en el sentido de que si va a pedir trabajo, pues que se lo den.
So what he's asking for is for people to cooperate, that if he asks for a job, that they give him a job. He just wants to work and support himself. He's not asking for financial assistance. When he asks the people for help, he asks for people to allow him to have a job or to rent from them.
Si va a buscar chamba, pues que se la den, pero tal cual pedirle un cheque al presidente, yo no lo escuché. López Obrador también dijo que no se le va a entregar como un cheque como tal, pero el tema de la seguridad pues sigue corriendo a cargo del gobierno. Dime tú qué opinas al respecto de esto, déjamelo en los comentarios. Y ya para concluir te quiero compartir este tweet de nuestro compañero el Chapucero Today, Mau.
So this was a tweet from Chapucero Today. It said Trump doesn't want for violence to go down in Mexico. He's trying to detain the Chapos in his campaign because Trump does not go against the cartels. he knows that they are good clients of the industry of the armaments of the United States, and they are not coming to do justice. It's just a discourse for his campaign. Anyway, I'm not going to get to the end of this video because I'm running out of time, but I just wanted to let you know what's happening right now. The Bolivian government that had the hostile takeover and coup are now trying to get into the Mexican embassy to get at the remaining witnesses to their crime. And they're also asking Mexico not to protect Evo Morales, to turn him over, which that's not going to happen. And let's hope that they do not dare enter the Mexican embassy, because that would definitely be not good. Not good. Anyway, please, Trump, stop instigating trouble around the world. The Mexican and Latin American people need a break. You guys have already done enough damage. With all the stealing all the wealth and all the natural resources. And I say stealing because you just go in and you give a loan to the government, and you just pay off a few officials and steal all the natural resources from all the government, from all the lands in the world. And we're tired of it. You guys need to get your own fair share. Yeah, you should get paid for the work you do. Pay a fair share. Pay the people. Pay the owners. Don't just clear out the lands, take away the original owners, and take the wealth for yourselves. It's not right. And people are suffering and dying around the world. And, the U.S. has a hand in it. And that's an embarrassment to any American, that we would be involved in something that would be harmful to humanity and also to our environment, because most of these things that they're doing are also harmful to our environment. So I myself would like to see some people get into government that are not out for the wealth, not just for the wealthy, for the rich people that voted them in and paid, had all their lobbyists go in and pay people off to vote their way, even though they know it's not good for the American people. We need to get someone in there that's going to do what's right for the American people. Give us health care. I can tell you that the health care here is so expensive that most people cannot afford it. Or if you can afford it, they still charge you so much after you're paying $1,000 or like $700 for the young people. It is ridiculous. The healthcare in our government has sold itself over and left us nothing, left us hanging out to dry. All right, I hope you enjoyed this. And I want to give a special thank you to Juncal Solano for doing such a great job on her research and getting all the compiling all the information that lets the world know what's happening around the world. She does an excellent job. She's got a channel on YouTube. This one here, she's got. Which is, the name of it is El Charro Político. And then she's also got channels on Facebook. Look her up. Really great girl. Really intelligent. Very good. I like her style. She's real, feisty and peppy. Just love it. Okay, you guys. Have a great day. Bye.